Hello. Hello, hello. Oh boy. Oh boy. You ready?
I am ready.
I don't know why I'm getting a cough all of a sudden again. Got the coronavirus.
My mom had to go get tested. She has the flu. Negative.
Man. Oh, she actually got tested for the coronavirus? You know, it's
They
funny. I was like,
tested they test you for the flu and
right.
that, and she has the flu.
I had the flu. I
Because
went.
the symptoms are the same.
Yeah, they're the same. It's just funny though, because like I had the flu, but it was before it all broke out, you know?
Oh, before you put our video up, let me show you something that I just.
Did you see the city of San Francisco? The mayor declared a state of emergency with the coronavirus.
Really?
Yeah, and like obviously people started freaking out because holy shit, right? Oh, you got a flashlight for it? Nice.
It goes so it actually plugged. It's one that's built for this device.
Uh-huh.
And so a piece that was right here, there was like a fake barrel
Yeah.
underneath that was just cosmetic. That pops out. This goes in, and you set it to what side you want it on. So it's just a one touch, and it turns straight on.
Nice. Does it have a strobe effect?
No, it does not. I wish it did, but it's 400 lumens. It's actually bright as shit. But yeah, I was like, you know what? I better get this in case Bloomberg or somebody gets elected. That's not gonna be possible.
Buy it all up now. That's the only reason I want an AR, because I know eventually they'll be gone. But yeah, so people start freaking out, obviously, because like the city just declared a state of emergency, and they're like, no one has been confirmed. Like, so why the state of emergency? Like, I don't think that's proper use of state of emergency. Like, holy shit. All right. You ready?
I am ready.
Oh, hold on. I'm gonna unmute us again on stream.
And break down all the fucking intricacies of it.
All right, yeah. True. All right.
Hold on. If we just used, we're muted.
I can mute us. All right. I am ready. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Hey, I'm Rams from Mouseparts, and you're listening to TCR.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of The Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. This is episode 216, coming to you live and or pre-recorded. The date at the moment is February 26, 2020, 8:36 p.m. And this is going to be the best episode ever. We got some big e-news to get to, big updates in CSGO. We'll talk about that a little bit. Dota is doing a format change. Once again, Valve just leaving their stepchild of Counter-Strike out in the cold. And we'll do a quick Katowice update for you. But before we get to that, make sure you follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring, our website, tcr.gg. It's got all the hookups there, including our Discord and YouTube. If you're listening on iTunes or anything like that, a review is most appreciated. Hello, my name is Tim. I will be your captain for this journey into esports, and alongside me, as always, is my best friend. He's my brown friend. It's a Nooch.
What's up, bud? That was like baby Rops, you know? Like that was like young, fresh,
super early.
baby Rops there. No, that was ESL Dallas, like I think one of his first events.
3 years ago now or something like that. It was right after JW accused him of cheating, and we got to talk about that. And
still till this day, that's the best I've ever been treated at an event. Till this day.
The first ESL Dallas or the second? Because the second was pretty legit.
They were both pretty good.
ESL knows how to pamper people, man.
Yeah, that was good.
You know, they might take away X-ray vision from their fans, but they'll treat the media right, which never hurts anything. ECS also, man. The second ECS in Dallas was so garbage. Like, it almost makes you not want to pump the tires for their first one. But man, that first one, that food. We were treated like kings with the food they gave us at the first ECS.
2 meals that day.
And not just like chumpy media dinner either. It was like a meatball. It was really good. That's all I remember, but alas, you know, one day, and some professional teams are like this as well, just in my time in professional traditional sports. Some teams treat the media really well, like the Dallas Stars, right? They always have food, they got drinks and everything provided. And then some just don't as well.
Who was the worst offender?
I would say, as far as just, and it makes the media sound so snobby, right? Because it's like, you didn't give me free food. I would say the Mavericks.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Just because they were really strict about it. Like, they had like the media dining room and you got a ticket for a hot dog. And they were like super strict. Like, you had to get it in halftime, not a minute before, not a minute after. You got your one free hot dog.
At the busiest time to go get it.
At the busiest time, right? When everyone is over there getting it. The Stars, they would put out the food, and it was just a buffet style. You just could get as much as you wanted.
Hoping for media coverage.
Dallas Cowboys, I remember you had to pay for it, but I've heard that's changed, that you don't have to pay for the food anymore. And I mean, but it's good food regardless, so it's pretty good there. The Rangers were okay. They had the best popcorn, that's for sure. Dallas Stars, though, had drumsticks, like the ice cream.
Yeah. Yeah,
so that, I mean, it was a ritual, man. Second period, drumstick, cup of coffee. And esports is similar, right? Like ESL, they were really good. ECS, we've been to a few. I won't name any because I'm still in the esports business. But there are some where you get there and you're like, this is it, huh? A bottle of water.
They know we were coming.
Chips, like you could run a Costco.
We can talk about the Fort Worth Call of Duty one. That's like old now, you know.
Yeah. Fort Worth CWL, that was pretty jank.
They threw us in a dungeon. No, it was Dallas. I'm sorry, it was Dallas where we walked into the back.
Oh yeah. Well, this one it was in Dallas. Yeah. It was just it's like the media area was behind the curtains, which is not unnormal, right? That's pretty normal. But there wasn't like any lights because obviously it's in the convention center where the matches are going on, so it's all dark. It's like you felt like you weren't supposed to be there. And they're like, this is where you can interview the players.
Nothing.
I'm like, interview the players where? I can't see my hand in front of my face. Like, you want me to talk to the players? This is weird. But, you know, we can say that now because CWL is gone, and I'm sure
CWL does it right. We'll find out in a few weeks.
Yeah, we'll find out at the end of March when we're there. But, I mean, the Overwatch was always fine. Overwatch League, they provided us a bunch of candy, which is always good. Give me
exactly what we need.
Give me a candy bar and I'm good. All right. So let's get into some of the actual content for the show, though, today. Enough about free food and getting spoiled for being a part of the media, because as one negative review said, Anuj, we are journalists. Officially journalists, thanks to the 1-star reviewer on iTunes, who has yet came forward and apologized, because he's a coward and proven wrong. But there was some big news coming out of the Dota 2 world, a game that we don't really talk about a whole lot unless it's the TI. Early listeners of the Center Ring would know that we did used to talk about it. Like when Brandon was the host with me, we did talk about Dota a little more often, but that's because their format made sense to a normal human being. And then I would say, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they decided to mix it up, and rather than just doing the 4 majors or the 3 majors and then the TI to cap off the year, they were like, we're just going to literally blow this thing up and have 20 different things that we're going to call majors. And it was too much. I hate the way they do it now. For me, being a casual, I guess you could call, Dota fan, it's way too much to try to keep up with as far as like what's an important tournament. This is a qualifier for what now? It's another major coming up. Like, you got to treat that word major very delicately.
Do you feel like most Counter-Strike fans understand the difference between like a Katowice and, I don't know, like Blast Pro New York?
I think most Counter-Strike fans, yes. Because
I would agree. I feel like they do.
Because Katowice is just it's a yearly tournament. You know what I'm saying? Like
Cologne, like those are all very recognizable.
Yeah. So obviously, like I think it's a little different for Counter-Strike fans, just because you kind of have those staple tournaments, and that's kind of what Valve did with Dota for a long time. But they recently just announced they're kind of mixing up the format, especially if you're looking at the tier 2, tier 3 team. So I'll kind of read some of this from their announcement, and then I want to take it a few directions here, if you indulge me. Starting after TI-10, the Dota Pro Circuit will introduce a new system that prevents competitive Dota in a more scheduled and consistent way during the year. And again, this is kind of stressing for tier 2 and tier 3 teams, which is kind of big, right? Like a lot of people are like, well, why are they focusing on tier 2 and tier 3? I think for multiple reasons. The player base is huge for Dota, but I do think they've seen some of it take a hit. And why might that be the case? Or how do you get players locked in? Well, you make the tier 2 and 3 players feel a little bit like they mean something. And that trickles down to the tier 4, tier 5s even more. Like, you give them something to work for. You dangle that carrot in front of them, right? Makes them play a little harder, I would say.
It does. It gives them like reason to keep grinding, right?
Right.
Like, keep going, stay motivated.
Not saying they're all going to make it, but
of contenders, right? That's kind of a prime example of if you don't treat that circuit properly, how it can potentially kill the growth of your game. So
yeah. Speaking of, contenders is starting up either tonight or at least this week. So we'll see how this year goes. It seems like every time Overwatch contenders start, it's just another reminder on why that scene struggles so much.
You see it with COD challengers right now. I mean, the same type of issues of lack of, getting treated and what they're looking for in prize pools and all that. That's like been an ongoing discussion this whole year.
So back to Dota 2, the year will be divided in 3 seasons. Each season will be composed of 6 regional leagues leading into a major with the best team in the world, the best teams in the world. The Dota year will, of course, end with the TI, as it always does. There's a few things that I want to bring up here. Let me just get into the actual nitty-gritty of this, and then I'll bring it back to the 6 regional leagues and why I'm really bringing this up here. So with these leagues, you're looking at the 6 leagues featuring a prize pool of $280,000 US dollars per season.
So roughly, $900 for the year.
Yep, and that's per each of the 6 leagues. So that's what, 6 times?
$6 million prize pool pretty much for the year.
That's pretty massive. Leagues will feature 2 divisions with 8 teams, upper, lower, blah, blah, blah. You're going to have like the normal situation where bottom 2 get filtered out and the top 2 go up, the whole relegation, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're going to be on a schedule, so similar like how League does it, where you'll have like your Chinese teams playing on certain days, your EUs, your NAs, they'll all be on a certain schedule. It's already out. You can go check it out. I don't really care to cover that right now. One of my big things here, though, if you're looking at the way the prize distribution is, and this is another big thing, I think, is between first place, this is looking at the upper division, the prize difference between first and 8th place is only $8,000. It's $30,000 for first, $22,000 for 8th.
Yeah, that's actually pretty crazy. Like you would think first place would be, I don't know, out of the, what was it you said, 290?
Yeah.
Right? I would say you would think
yeah.
like almost 100K going to first place.
Yeah. And that's what you
at
normally see.
least.
You normally see these tournaments like where it's like they just money whip, right? The prizes. But now first and through 5th, you do get DPC points for the actual like pro circuit. If you win, if you take first, you automatically qualify for the major playoffs. So you skip groups. That's the incentives right there.
That's like millions almost tied to this.
Well,
right
and
at
I
this
think
point.
that's what Valve's purpose was. Like, hey, this is not just another tournament for you guys to cash grab and be excited about the money. This is for you to progress your actual professional career. We're not looking for one team to really benefit financially from this. We want to spread that financial benefit across the board to keep you guys here for next season and, not fold.
And they still have that payoff opportunity with the international. So it's not like that goes away, right? So you're making a little bit of money here, although I still disagree with the distribution. I still would have done the distribution a little bit different to put.
But again, you got to remember this is like tier 2, tier 3 teams, right? You're not looking at the top teams. Like those teams competing will obviously have bigger prize pools. But I think the thing here though is that Valve wants to stress the importance of the majors and the TI.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to get your money. You're going to get paid.
I'm not saying even add more money into it. I'm just saying the distribution of the money there. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I like the emphasis that they're putting here. I like how it's, you feel like you're leading up to something. It builds a storyline throughout the year. We kind of run into that issue in other esports where it's hard to build really good storylines from week to week because sometimes there's like no correlation between them. It's different teams matched up against one another. This gives them a way to also kind of build that up and give them something to work with storyline wise, also competitive wise. Like you understand what these teams have on the line at any given moment, which that's hard to decipher when you're looking at like HLTV rankings, right? How is somebody going to fall 3 spots and somebody going up 2? No, you know exactly what these points are for, what, how much is on the line, depending on the game. So I like the approach that they're taking here.
Yeah. Looking at the majors, it says the season will conclude with a major tournament featuring 18 teams from all the regions, right? So remember this, they're all filtering into the major. Prize pool of $500,000 plus DPC points, right? So the way this is broken down is EU and China will get 4 slots, North America and Southeast Asia will get 3, and the CIS and South America will get 2. And I guess that's each is how they, to get to your 16.
Yeah.
So this is why I bring this up, Anuj, because I'm starting to think, and also you were asking about the prize pool for that. First place gets 200,000. Second gets 100,000. And then that's where, that's your normal prize pool distribution that you would see.
That's how you expect to see it. You don't want to,
right.
Give a place a freebie here. For
I think them stressing the importance of the major, right? Like you have your regular season. We're not going to
get to this point.
Yes.
Yeah,
we're not going to award you. We'll give you props, but we're not here. Mission is not accomplished by getting first in the season.
Kind of similar to how Overwatch does it in that sense.
Yeah, right. They have their clear goal in mind, and that's the majors or the playoffs or the finals or whatever you want to call it. The reason, though, I find this very interesting as far as just a general esports discussion, Anuj, is I feel Like this is going to be the trend that we see for a lot of games, especially games that are set up by the developer.
It makes the most sense because, like, first of all, you're like you said, you're regionalizing it, right?
Hmm.
You're able to get your game like kind of focused, like you can be a little bit more strategic with your approach when you do it this way. Again, you do see this again. I keep going back to Counter-Strike because like sometimes it does feel a little bit all over the place and unstructured, and you wish Valve had a little bit more involvement. And I know there's a lot of negatives to it too that could be like bad if they were more involved, but at the same time, like we miss out on opportunities like this to really have these season-long storylines. It doesn't feel forced in any way. And so
Well, and
I
how would you
like
like to
the
be like it's beating a dead horse at this point, the way Valve treats Dota compared to Counter-Strike. But look at like what we are getting through towards the tail end, but still in the middle of Counter-Strike having a league war between ESL and Flashpoint, right? And it's where are these teams going to go? How are the structures going to work? Well, what about the farm systems? What about tier 2 teams? What's going to happen to them? And now you have those so now we had to worry about the pro level. Well, now they're competing on the tier 2 level, and now they're creating like contender leagues for those, right?
Yep.
It's going to just be even more diluted and a mess when it comes to, God forbid, a tier 2 team in Flashpoint ever wants to move over to ESL or vice versa. How is that going to affect them, right? In the ranking system. And all while Valve is sitting here creating what looks like a perfect ecosystem for Dota.
It's quite incredible because look at how nicely this plan is laid out in their blog on their website. It's like so beautifully laid out here with all the details, the schedule, the formatting,
this
the
was their
payouts,
announcement of it,
you know.
and it has everything. You want to look at the schedule? It's there. You want the format? You want the payout? You want how many points will be? It's all there. How do you qualify? It's right there. They've thought this so through that in their first blog post announcing everything, it's all right there.
They don't have to clarify one. They can literally just let this sit and you have all the information you need right here. And that's fantastic. And it's just funny because you almost forget that Counter-Strike's run by the same company. Like it kind of blows your mind a little bit to see, like you said, what we've seen on the Counter-Strike side. It's been so messy in bad for the game in the sense from a viewership or like a fan standpoint. You don't want to see all this infighting going on and people bashing each other on Twitter and talking about how it's fair for this group or that
Choosing
group. Like,
sides, right?
yeah, like it's crazy how it is right now for CS. And again, this is just, I mean, this is awesome. You see what your path is when you're at the pro level by looking at this. You see what your path is for a future pro, right? Somebody who's in the tier 2, tier 3 leagues. You understand what you need to do to advance. Your team now can kind of project this vision going forward for what your future could potentially look like. And there's not so much like if a Counter-Strike team is not in one of those leagues and they're like a tier 2 team, what is that org really thinking right now? Like there might not even be thinking like, should we even have a team in tier 2 Counter-Strike? Like this could potentially scare a lot of people away, where this could just attract a bunch of people that are maybe not initially interested or financially well off enough. They have a path, and you see that. So it's just crazy to see the differences between the two.
Yeah, it's like you said, there's a pro and con to all of it, right? Like this is ran by Valve, and you are at the mercy of the developer and how they use that plus the game and everything. So
but they're still getting the salaries from their team.
Yeah.
This is not like this is just prize pool, so they're still getting whatever they were getting paid. Like Valve is not getting involved in any of those aspects like you've seen with Overwatch League.
Well,
where
and again, if this is still treated the same, and I guess this is one thing, maybe it says on here and I didn't read it, but in the past, the majors were still ran by other companies. This isn't like just killing off third-party participation in Dota. I assume they're treating that the same way. I don't think Valve will be running every event, but So like you're still gonna have, Star Ladder or
Still
whoever.
sell that piece off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, hey, Star Ladder, you run it. ESL, you run it.
Yeah.
Blast Pro, whoever, But yeah, I think it's a format that you will see more companies use because it does give them more control. Like you said, they had the ability to pawn off the TO side of it, which is very expensive. Like that's one of the most difficult pieces is getting a venue, getting the equipment, shipping it around from place to place. Like
And if
you
you
can
can
still
outsource that,
control. Yeah, like you can still do it. The esports engine is a company that's like, this is what they do, like literally take this piece of it from you and run that. So this gives them a significant amount of control. And again, I think it's a format that benefits the fans for sure. Like this is a very easy format to follow, and know where your teams are. And if your team drops down, you have a reason to continue to watch and cheer for them because next year they could get right back into pro league. Like there's just a lot of opportunity on the table to keep your fan base engaged throughout the year.
and I think it also creates that natural like rivalry, right? Like look at League of Legends. Now, I don't follow that religiously, right? But C9's undefeated though. I do know that. I do think though you have that natural kind of fandom for when it goes into worlds or whatnot with the regions. Like you have your favorite NA team, but then when it comes down to it, you really just want to see NA win, right? And that's why I like esports is global. Obviously, we've seen with the leagues how they spread it off and everything. I think what we will find with the CDL and Overwatch League is eventually, if they can stick around long enough, you will see that league have like say 50 teams. And in that though, you will have the division split up between the region. I think that's how you're going to see even though this isn't franchised and League of Legends and all the other stuff are franchised, I do think, well, League of Legends does it though, right? Where they have franchise leagues, but it's split regionally. I do think that's
but they
how
don't
you're
have but the buy-in wasn't as exuberant as it was for like.
And that's why I say with the
you'll
caveat,
never have that many teams in Overwatch League unless they drop the buy-in price to like 500K.
Right. And that's why I said with the caveat of if they can
Yeah.
last long enough and
Yeah.
people decide, oh wow, I can buy in for 40 million. This is a steal with how this is going still or whatever. It's worth
Like
it.
Overwatch 2 blows up.
Right.
Know.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of almost wish that the buyout wasn't as high because they could have done that, and obviously more teams, more players, more people interested in the game. But I don't know. We'll see. Though that is still TV. That's my theory, though. That's my brain working here as far as what I see, how the future of those leagues might look. I think also, though, we've just seen how a worldwide league, right, and not just based off of one region, the hills and hurdles you have to jump with that. Let's go on a sidebar here real quick, like with the Overwatch League, right? The Asian teams have still not really been able to, I don't think at all. I don't think they've played at all. I don't think any of them have off the top of my head.
No,
I don't
I think
any
they
of
got
them
like
have been in
delayed
a
a few
homestand.
weeks, and so their first ones come up in 4 or 5.
But see, now they've
like that.
canceled all the games in Korea now because of the coronavirus. And so all that is out of Valve's control. Well, it's definitely out of Valve's control. Blizzard's control. And so that's why I think it's like with these World Leagues, I don't know if they're sustainable. Right? I think you almost have to go with the regions because now scheduling the Overwatch League already had to have been the biggest pain in the ass for whoever's job that is. Now
It took up a whole segment on the show.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
of how tough, like how crappy the formatting was for
That's a guy
some
I
of
would
the
like to interview.
travels. Like some of the teams' travel schedules we talked about were 3, 4, 5 times more than some of the other teams that were on that list. So.
And now on top of that, you have pretty much your first half of the season for a lot of teams completely off the books right now, and they got to figure out what they want to do with it.
About to play them online, I think, right?
Either that or online would be the worst, though. Because they want to get it streamed, obviously. You almost think like a place like either, I don't know, maybe Envy offers up their new offices so they can play the games in there. Or Esports Stadium just says, look, we'll do you a solid, good PR. Esports Stadium, if you're listening, this is amazing PR. You can have this free of charge. Just say, hey, the weekends are already scheduled, but we can bump these weekday Fortnite tournaments. Just come in and knock out your matches, right?
Get them played. Yeah.
Yeah, get them played. Here's a week. I don't know what the hell they would do with the revenue and all that, because obviously they were expecting to sell a lot of money with your homestands. So I can't imagine that the Asian owners are thrilled that they don't get to have their homestands, but I don't know. That was just a little rant I wanted to go on as far as with the worldwide, like how esports, yes, you have to have it worldwide. There's no way that you can just make an American league for anything without it filtering and branching off into like what would be your TI that have everyone coming together all at once. But it's
The region idea is, I mean, it's worked well for League of Legends. I think this will work well for Dota. We'll just kind of see how it's more. I don't know if it's so much the regions, but we'll see how this format works, right? If
right.
this format works along with the regional side of it, then they really have something there. And I think we'll get an opportunity to see this with a lot of these upcoming games on how they handle this. What direction do all these future games, these Halos and Project A's, and just any of these upcoming games coming out, they've gotten an opportunity to see several different ways of running your game, right? If you want to go the franchising model, this regional model, the Counter-Strike free flowing model, it's going to be real interesting to see what approach they take, and we'll find out soon enough.
But for right now, Counter-Strike does not have to worry about that because they have 2 leagues that they're currently arguing about and which one might be better and which one will survive. But we still have Katowice. We'll always have Katowice, Anuj, no matter what. So it snuck up on us. I won't lie to you, listeners. As an American, European tournaments have to be, at least the group stage, are the worst. They fall right into the working schedule.
Like at the worst time of the day too, right? It's like you get in, just started your work day,
Twitter's
and
blowing
boom,
up.
9 o'clock games are going live. It's you try to plan your lunch breaks accordingly so you can get some of these matches in while you're at least eating, just to see what's going on. But this is like the most stacked tournament I can recall in quite some time. I mean, even thinking back to like the major. I mean, we really have everybody that's anybody in the CS:GO scene in this tournament, and I think the results have kind of, for the most part, panned out the way a lot of people, I guess, would have projected, with a couple of upset swings here and there, and we'll kind of get into that. But
So
we're
much is
almost here
happening.
getting into the semis now.
I was about to say, we're 2 days into this thing, and yet they are going at a rapid pace. I don't ever remember Katowice being so quick, but I guess it's always just been a week-long event with the weekends being playoffs, so they have to do it. So just looking at some of the early results here, some of the non-surprises, as we talked a little bit about it in the preview, was Cloud9. Well, I saw some fans being like, oh, great, it's just a repeat of the last roster. We talked about this last week. What were your expectations going into this? If you were like, because I'll tell you what, as a Cloud9 fan for mine, it was going 0-2. Like, my expectations were, I'm happy to be there because you went through that amazing qualifying run and you got everyone's hopes up. But then your first match was against Astralis, and realistically, anyone else in your group, you're going to be the underdog for.
Yeah, this was never going to be an easy matchup for him. I mean, if you had pulled off a game, the hopes here for Cloud9 fans were that Astralis really is in some sort of slump, right? Like what we saw this past couple of matches from them, that maybe they're slipping a little bit, or there's a kink in their armor and we can catch them right now. Well, they came out swinging. They knocked Cloud9 out pretty early in those matches. Like, you kind of knew how they were leaning. The thing was, this ATK roster has a lot of promise, right? There's a lot of talent on the roster that they were hoping they could kind of build on. But again, a first matchup against Astralis, Overpass, Train, neither were really that close. I think the more disappointing thing as a Cloud9 fan is the way that they lost to Ninjas. Like that's where the hope should have been, right? Hey, we have a chance to beat a Ninjas team. It's on a complete rebuild. They don't have any of the former, stud players. So these guys are now learning each other's nature and how to play with them. So that first game, I think it started off 14-1 and ended up being 16-2 on Overpass. Like that set the tone obviously for what was upcoming, but
Yeah.
that was the more disappointing part going out that way.
Yeah, and then some of the other first round for the opening rounds. I mean, you did have Navi defeating FaZe Clan 2-1. That was kind of your first juggernaut fight of the event, where it was like, damn, like this could be a semifinals match if you really wanted it to. And I think, I think that kind of proved to be right. All the games were super close.
Yeah, it was surprising because FaZe Clan came out and took that first game.
Yeah.
And so your immediate reaction there is like FaZe just came off of performing well in the previous tournament. Here they are. They took the first game from Navi. This is going to be an opportunity for them to kind of show that FaZe is back, and I think they played well still. But then for Navi to bounce back the way they did, Simple was outstanding for them. But if you're FaZe, you're probably feeling. I mean, I feel like you're doing okay. You're still alive. You have a rematch
I was gonna
coming
say
up.
you have a rematch between Navi tomorrow.
I think you would feel pretty discouraged if you come out of here with a loss, like losing to them twice in 2 best out of 3s. But this is an opportunity for a playoff spot right here. So they can make up for it and feel like they're back. I feel like if they pull off this win, but they have a rematch against Navi, so we'll get to see what that's all about tomorrow.
Now, I did want to talk about why Navi went into the losers bracket, and that was, of course, losing 2-1 to Fnatic. And I want to pair the next 2 teams we talk about, which will be Fnatic and Mousesports, because in my brain, they are on a similar trajectory, right? I think of them being on similar tracks as far as where they could go. Because we've even talked a lot about it on the show, Anuj, where, they're top 5. They float around top 3, top 2, kind of like in and out, like all throughout the year, right? We constantly see Fnatic and Mousesports in and out, in and out. Well, here you did have Fnatic defeating Navi 2-1, and that was with Simple having, he's just been on fire for Navi's a couple last outings.
He's been incredible.
Yeah. So for Fnatic to kind of hold ground and defeat them on Dust 2 16-7, and then Mirage hold off and win 16-12.
On Dust 2, it took Crims having the game of his life, to carry them through that match. I think he dropped 30 plus in that game. But yeah, Fnatic and Mouse, it's you don't want to say they're inconsistent because they're not. They win a majority of their matches. But I do get nervous for both of those teams in big games. Like I get nervous for each of them the same way. I don't have a ton of confidence when they're going up against a top team that, hey, they're going to pull through. If they get their maps, this is going to be a win for them. I get nervous in the same way for both of them, but for different reasons. I think, Fnatic has just a lot more experience on that roster with the lineup that they're currently running. So a lot of nostalgia comes back there watching that lineup, and it's more surprising to see them where they're at. Where Mouse, you kind of see more of an upward trajectory because of, they're young, a lot of stars on that team. I think the biggest thing is that they're a young squad, but I do get nervous in the same way, and G2, Tim, was that team that we talked about that could potentially be a sleeper.
They pissed me off. So I had money on this game this morning between Mouse and G2, and obviously I had money on Mouse. So again, not really being able to watch the matches, all I see on Twitter is how G2 destroyed them on Dust 2 in the first half. And I'm like, great. It's like, that's not the way you want to start. But then to hear that Mousesports brought that back, I'm like, that's exactly how you want to start, right?
13-1 second half to win that game.
So they had your backs against the ropes. You're Mousesports. You're thinking, what the hell, guys? Like, we cannot start like this. And then you come back, regroup, you go 13-1 on the second half on T side of Dust 2, and you're like, we got them exactly where we want them, right? Now we're in their heads. They had us dead to rights. And then you go and drop some of the worst performances I've seen in a while for Mouse Sports. 16-6 on Inferno, 16-7 on Nuke. On Nuke, you get blown out like that.
Yeah, but we also had like it's been a while. And so hopefully if you haven't seen these games, go back and watch these because you had vintage Kenny S in these games. He top fragged in
been like that
all
the last
three
couple
matches.
Events too.
I mean, you really like he really is playing at such a high level. I mean, he led again all three maps in overall KD. He had over 100 ADR on Nuke. On Nuke, if you can be an aggressive hopper on Nuke, you can do really well, and you can make some amazing plays. And he was able to do that. They were all 5 positive on Nuke. And in fact, for the tournament, I think the top 3 players of the tournament, rating wise, are all G2 players. And so they're clicking, man. I'm telling you, Hunter and Nexa, you want to talk about an org that made great pickups. G2 had to reinvent the wheel here, right? They lost Body, they lost Shocks. Like they've had a lot of turnover of core players on that roster, and they went out and plucked not a whole roster. Like, hey, we're going to take a couple of your best players, your 2 core players, and have them mesh in here. And they've really been able to do that. And we're seeing a lineup that really, Tim, looks dangerous. I mean, we're going to see them against Liquid tomorrow. I'm excited for that matchup because that's going to be a real test for Liquid for us to get a true idea of where they're at. I don't think beating VP is an impressive feat. You know, that's a team you should spank. They have one strategy. They go the same way. They play one way. And so that's, again, I think it's something that was winnable. We've seen Evil Geniuses struggle here as of recent. So to come out and beat them 2-1, like I would kind of hope and expect you to do so. And so this will be a really good matchup for Liquid, and likewise, this will be a good test for us to also see if G2 can continue this type of run.
Yeah, I think you just said it there too. It's going to be a good test for G2. I'm not 100% sold on G2, hence the reason why I bet against them and I lost. But I've seen this from G2 before.
Yeah,
I have seen them perform well. They'll put 2 or 3 really good events in a row, and then it goes right back to panic mode, right? They it's almost like they get in their own way sometimes. So it's like you said, it's just one of those where you're gonna have to wait and see which G2 shows up. Is it gonna be the one where Kenny S is having a good time, he's feeling confident, and he looks like old Kenny S rocking the op? Or is it gonna be one where he's pouting, he's slamming the desk, he looks frustrated, he goes by the pool and smokes half a pack of cigarettes and then goes back in, right? Which Kenny S are we going to get to see? And I think that's going to answer your question on what type of G2 that we see.
So I'm curious. So we know 4 of the playoff teams, right? We got 4 out of the 6 playoff teams down right now. And we know who's playing in, well, not in one of the loser bracket finals, but in the other one we do. So kind of curious. Let's give our predictions here because the next time we talk about this, the tournament will have ended, and we will be going over how the results turned out here.
Yeah, so we have, do you want to just kind of talk it openly, like which teams that we'll see?
Yeah,
here?
so we have Astralis and Fnatic automatically going through. They're playing for a quarters and a semi spot right now.
Right.
And they're playing in the upper bracket, but both will be advancing to the playoffs. And then what we just mentioned on the other end, we got G2 and Liquid, again, both advancing to the playoffs, fighting for semis versus quarter.
So I think Na'Vi will beat FaZe. So I think Na'Vi will make the playoffs.
Okay, and then on the lower bracket, you got one team out of the 4, EG, 100 Thieves, Mouse, and Mad.
I'm riding Mouse Sports still. I'm going
to go Mouse here also. I didn't know if you were going to NA fanboy me. I was seeing where your head was at.
They've just proven to me more that they can do it. Now, that being said, I could also see Mad Lions upsetting them just because that's what Mouse Sports does, right? Is like they will end the season on a high. They'll get to the number 2 spot in the world, and then they'll just go and shit the bed. So I could see where I'm predicting Mouse Sports to get it out of the lower brackets, and then they get 2-0 tomorrow by Mad Lions, which will probably happen.
I'm also not gonna sit there and be like, I'd be shocked if EG lost to 100 Thieves. You know, it's not like they've been playing some amazing CS that would make me believe that. I mean, they've been questionable at times. So yeah, let's just say for the sake of the argument, we'll say Mouse Sports is a team that advances through. For me, I'm gonna find it too hard to just bet against Astralis to advance out of the, let's say just even making it to the finals. So I think I have them definitely as one of my finals teams. I think they'll be able to handle Fnatic tomorrow. I think that's again a tough matchup for Fnatic. And if Astralis, they look like they're clicking right now. They handled Vitality, I say fairly easily. One game obviously went into double overtime, but they looked really good. They came out of a tough matchup 2-0. So I'm gonna take Astralis, and then Tim, I'm gonna pin him against like what I think. I'm curious to see if we're getting this team back, but I think Liquid has an opportunity to make their stamp early in the season. I think there's so many questions surrounding where that team is and what level they're playing at. You had the comments obviously that we discussed, you know, the nifty comments that had come out and kind of blown up here recently again. Although those were old comments that were made, but
From
like
October,
that stuff kind of it rattled the cage, right?
That.
Like it got that conversation flowing again and people talking about what kind of Liquid are we going to get here? And so I am going to take them to advance through to the finals versus Astralis. But man, I mean, I'm more hoping for that at this point. That's what I would like to see.
Well, I think that's just because there's not a definite number 2 right now, right? Astralis is going to be, you can't bet against them. So what? They played poorly at Blast Pro. I'll give the number 1 team in the world one bad performance because last year they gave us about 4 or 5 bad performances, and we realized that only like put them to like 4th best in the world, and now they're back, right?
Yeah.
So even at Astralis's worst, they were still a top 5 team. So yes,
and still winning every major.
You cannot bet against them. Yeah, that's the number 2 though. Is like where you're like, I mean, any given weekend it can be Liquid or Navi or FaZe, Fnatic. I mean, it can be a number of 5 teams.
I really want there to be like a strong number 2 though, like I want that team that's like on the verge of pushing them off and taking the throne. But
the only reason you would have a strong number 2 is because they're whooping up on everyone below them, not whooping up on the guys up top. You get what I'm saying?
Astralis, yeah, they're not beating Astralis, right?
You want a good a second ranked team that can compete for number 1, and that's not the case. You're getting every other team competing for number 2, and then that person will be a strong, like, oh, who's gonna knock out number 2? Because you might see Astralis lose, but they're just not going to get knocked out of that number 1 spot anytime soon. I just don't see it yet.
Does your mindset change at all if we come out on Monday? Our episode is Liquid beat Astralis.
No, it
2-0
doesn't.
in the finals.
It's gonna. My mindset then will be, hey, you got 1 on them. But we even saw last year that the majority of the time Astralis lost wasn't to Liquid.
But is the only way that mindset changes is if Liquid beats them in a major? Like, is that the only way that they dethrone them at this point?
I mean, you know me. I'm not part of that mindset where if it doesn't happen in the major, it doesn't matter, right? I think there's too many of... It would be different if, like, things led to the major, like if everything filtered to the major, but there are 2... I mean, look at who we have at this tournament. Yeah. This is like a mini major with the talent that you have at this tournament. So how can you look at this? I assume all of these teams are playing with 100% heart, right? I don't think any of them are just blowing off Katowice. So I would think, yes, winning this, of course, the history books don't care as much, right? But
you get a lot of points. Like you get a lot of points there, and I agree. This tournament has a lot of value, just like a Cologne does, just like an ESL New York. Like those tournaments mean a lot, and there's a reason the biggest teams attended. So, does this bump Liquid over the top if they beat Astralis? No, but it's a nice notch on the belt, and it's something you build up throughout the year that makes a case for you to then be the number 1 team as we progress.
My comment to that also is Liquid won the Grand Slam last year in record pace, and people still weren't convinced that they were better than Astralis. So
Which those people looking back might be right. At that period of time, Liquid was better than Astralis, but Liquid as a whole
for
is
the
not.
year, they were not better.
Yeah.
You can win 4 of the biggest tournaments of the year and still be a questionable number 1. That tells me you're not number 1.
Be spicy though to get a Liquid Astralis final right off the bat.
I mean, it would be, just given the fact that, like you said, Liquid's been kind of off for the later part of 2019 and everything. That whole rivalry kind of died after they got the Grand Slam, right?
I mean, I'll be happy with a number of teams though, right? Like if it's Astralis, Na'Vi, or a FaZe Clan is in there, look, it's gonna be great. We're gonna have a really good playoffs coming here this weekend. Like it's gonna be a stacked house. Whoever makes it at this point.
I'll tell you what I want to happen though, is I want Astralis to make the grand finals, but then I want them to lose. I really don't care who wins. I just don't want Astralis getting knocked out early, because then that's when the whole talk of, well, they just had an off event, right? Yeah. Well, they just weren't awake yet because it weren't the finals. No, I want grand finals Astralis, and I want them to lose.
It's crazy how that narrative's changed on them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been what, 2 years?
3 years it feels like.
2 or 3 years.
Full 2 years. Yeah.
It happens to the best of them. It happens, people were ready to see SK lose and ready to see Fnatic. I think NiP was probably the only ones that people really
Everyone's
enjoyed.
praying for all of these teams to come back in one way or the other.
Right. So, again, by the time we talk about it with our next episode, this tournament will be wrapped up, so we will definitely see who wins and who's a solid second. But let's get into some e-news. Counter-Strike had a major update, including UIs and gun fixes. So what were some of the big things there, Anuj?
Op speed slowed after a scope shot, and same thing with crouching. So you used to be able to crouch jump and essentially get a speed burst there, and it was really common with the op. It was right in between the op. After you shot it unscoped, you got a movement burst, and then you could scope again real quick. And so they took that away, and it does feel different. I haven't got to mess around with it a whole lot, but based on the comments that we're seeing, that is a change that people will have to adapt to. But again, I think people will adapt. It's going to be some frustration. Nobody likes change when it comes to the op.
This seems like something that they will reverse because of backlash. The unscoping from the op after an op shot is just, I mean, that's muscle memory at this point. If you're telling me that doesn't make a difference, it's going to be really weird.
The only reason I would say I have my doubts that they'll make a change back to this, at least right away, is they messed up the op so bad back in like 2015 or 2016, and they left it. Like, that's the way that they wanted the op to be used. And so this is another slight adjustment towards that gun. And
what was it back then? The scope?
It was like movement speed and I mean, how you could quick scope with it.
I remember. I just don't remember the details.
It was the Kenny S nerf, and so the way he played with it and came down on him. The one thing that they did add to him, they added a crosshair editor finally to the game.
20 years. It took them 20 years to finally do this.
All it took was for Project A to announce they had a crosshair editor, and that they were going to have multiple ways to actually make all these crazy looking crosshairs. And boom, CSGO major update, crosshair editor. It's kind of cool though, actually, because you can see it in game. They have a little visual for you to see it. And then if you save it, it gives you a code. You can then share that code with your friends or other people.
You can do it. People could do. The issue is I wonder how many people who played CS:GO didn't know that you could do that.
Yeah,
because there were custom maps that would allow you to adjust your crosshair because it had the coding programmed in. So again, if you knew that, right? But if CS:GO was your first Counter-Strike and you just had the horrendous default crosshairs that they offer, you would never know.
Yeah, good luck knowing all the console commands if you've never played the game before. So that's not going to happen. Nuts. They've also added patches for the avatars. They're so as you know, they have all the new characters in the game, the skins that you can have. It's these patches, and the only reason I bring this up is there's a lot of rumors that these are going to be reports that have come out that there'll be team-based patches also coming out for the major. So you can have a team patch on you. I think that's actually a pretty cool way of doing it if they're not going to do the gloves. The gloves I kind of get, because the problem is they want to make gloves a very rare and exclusive item. And that would mess up the market if everyone was able to get some sort of cosmetic glove. So I don't see that. It's like giving away a knife almost. They just won't do it. Patches, cool way to kind of show your team spirit, and maybe we'll see that. And then like a new buy menu again. It'll throw you off, Tim, if you haven't seen the. Yeah, it's weird. It like automatically moves your cross or your like mouse placement to the middle. It's weird. It doesn't feel.
I thought it was so unnecessary. I didn't need to see my guy holding the gun I was about to purchase. I know what it's going to look like.
It's Valve showing off the skin part of it right there, right? Like if you have the default skin, you're going to see the default skin every time.
Yeah, it's just unnecessary, Valve, but all right, you do you. Speaking of you doing you, Overwatch, I don't know what the hell Blizzard is doing anymore, dude. I just don't know. This might have been able to be a salt mine, but...
I kind of like it, though. I kind of like it.
Just... It went from... How long has Overwatch been out now? 3-4 years?
Yeah.
And it took them 99% of their lifespan to never listen to anyone, to not try anything out, to be so bullheaded and tell their fans, and I get onto them about this from the get-go, when people were originally saying there needs to be hero locks, right? There should not be able to have 5 Winstons, right? And Blizzard said, shut up, we know what we're doing, that's not how Overwatch should be played. Sure enough, they changed it, and everyone's like, oh yeah, I guess that did work out. Then they said role locks. Blizzard said, shut up, that's not the way it should be played. Then all of a sudden did 2-2-2 and said, oh, okay, I guess it works out, apart from the Q, but yeah, whatever. What can you do? And now, they finally figured out 2-2-2. Well, now they're testing out 2-1-3, where you can have 1 support and 3 DPS.
I love the idea.
I love the idea.
Absolutely love the idea. This would make, I think, that would really revolutionize the way the pace of the game
it would be so
played.
Fast.
It would be so fast, and I think it would make for like, oh my gosh, Tim, like that actually excites me to think that they could potentially do that. Now, I don't know how this is from a pro perspective. So if you're a pro player and you're listening to this and you're like, a dude, shut up. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. This would be terrible. I want to know why, because for me, I feel like this would speed up the pace of play. A lot of times, in my mind, support characters are generally the ones with some sort of, either a stun ability or like some sort of ability that like really changes the dynamic or leads the dynamic of a fight. You usually wait for that particular player's ultimate or ability to be ready before you kind of engage. This really opens it up a lot. And my thought process is, man, can you imagine like a McCree Reaper Widow combo, or and you're absolutely
right. Like, the issue with supports is that you had to hold on to your ults because they were reactionary ults, right? If you were Lucio and you had dropped the beat, you pretty much waited to get grabbed or some sort around that, right? So that way you could save your team from another attacking ult. Well, you take one of those away. You take one of those supports away. I mean, it's going to be a killing fest, which is awesome. I know the reason they said they did this is because the DPS queue times are still just too damn high, which, I mean, I played Overwatch every single night of my life since the game came out. Roll queue came out, and all of a sudden, me, who prefers DPS, had to wait 10 minutes between every game, and I haven't touched it now for like a month. So, yeah, I mean, this needed to happen. I think they realized, like, hey, there are more DPS players out there. If I was a pro team, I'd be ripping my hair out, right? From a professional standpoint, it's like, guys,
oh yeah,
how are we supposed to build a roster from this? And now you're going to do hero rotations. Are you telling us 1 week we're going to do 2-2-2 and the other will be 2-1-3? Or do teams get... I think that would be interesting if teams could pick almost like what lineup you want to go with and say, okay, for this map, we're going to run a 2-1-3. For the next map, we're going to run this. Almost like formations,
Yeah, but then the other team gets to choose what they want to run too?
Yeah, maybe a team likes to play 2-2-2 on defense, but a 2-1-3 on offense.
That could be interesting.
It
allows them to keep the flexibility of the rosters that they currently have, to where it doesn't make your current roster void. My concern there is if you do that, everybody's going to run 2-2-2 because that's how the rosters are technically built, right? For that type of format.
That's
But
100%.
with 2-1-3, there's other complications, right? If you're going to keep hero bans in, can you imagine a 2-1-3 week where like Lucio is banned? It'd be a little tough, you
Right.
know, like that might be the core
but
healer.
that being said, you're never gonna run a Lucio. The one thing about this,
You know what I'm saying? Whatever.
Right.
If it's like the core healer in that situation is
Yeah.
then banned, that makes it a very tough situation. Like it really changes the dynamic if there's only one.
and
OP
if you're a
type
support player, you are sweating right now.
who would be the support healer? The one person you think that would take over in that sense would be the go-to meta pick.
It's a good question. I really don't know because I guess it just kind of depends on what the tank and DPS are looking at. Me personally, either an Ana, Mercy, or Moira. I would need someone because Mercy, she can heal so quickly and she can get around the map to heal people. Ana, obviously, because she can heal a lot of people quickly, and same thing with a Moira. But at that point in time, I would almost assume you're keeping one of your DPS players alive, right? And like you other guys got to figure it out. You'd
Give me
probably
a 1-1-4, Tim.
you would probably see a 76 in there because he's got the healing drop, right? He's got
Yeah.
that team heal. And I think there's also talks of like rebuilding some of the other heroes' abilities as well, like Zarya being able to bubble multiple people. So there's a good chance Overwatch, as we know it, really looks different. And God knows Blizzard's going to do it in the middle of an effing stage and just completely destroy everything about the Overwatch League from what we know. But that's going to be a salt mine for another episode. In COD, we have some roster rumors as both LA teams are looking at new talent. Some rumors out there, Anuj.
Yeah, rumors suggest that Optic is pretty interested in Pharaoh right now. We talked about some of the LA Gorillas, like some of the roster moves that they're potentially looking at. So again, we expected this. We said this last week. This is the LA homestand coming up. These two guys are the marquee matchups, and Optic hasn't won a game yet. And the Gorillas have only looked worse since their very first match, in the CDL. So for both of these teams to be looking at making changes, not a huge shock, right?
Right.
For
go for it.
For Project A, I know we kind of keep slipping in little tidbits of information here. We'll keep sprinkling it in until we really get a lot of information. But the first big date to keep an eye on is March 2nd. They've even announced it in their own Discord that there will be more information revealed at that point.
Next Monday. So we're hoping for a worldwide type reveal. Like that would be the ideal situation with some sort of beta dates. I know Shroud just mentioned in his stream, and I know people are getting tired of seeing who cares what Shroud is saying. Look, these guys know things, right? Whoa,
So,
you mean Shroud got to play the game early? What?
Yeah, he was talking to Ska. Kind of beautiful little reunion there. Every time they play
Right.
together, I feel good. But he was talking to Ska, and he mentioned, yeah, we'll have Project A in a few months. And then he was like, oh, I don't really know that, though. It might not be confirmed or anything. So he kind of let it out and then realized it like the moment he said it. So take that for what it's worth. But we do know we'll be getting some information next Monday. So stay tuned, and I'm sure we'll provide some details on that.
On the same tune with Riot, there is, of course, it's never going to go away, the Riot scandal for, what was it, like rape and just being sexist, right?
I think it was sexual harassment. I don't know if it
Sexual
was rape in
harassment.
particular.
No.
That would be pretty, it's already hardcore, don't get me wrong, but
Just sexual harassment, though.
just
Just sexual harassment. They are accused of colluding with the lawyers representing sexual harassment victims in secret. Riot.
if
just
that
doing
comes
Riot
out to be
things.
true, man, like Project A is not even going to save you at this point.
No, you're done.
like
You're done at
how-
that point.
How is this like a continuing
If on a corporate level,
thing?
and I don't get it. Riot, money whip them, pay them off, and move on. Like every other, big corporation does with their scandals. Like just move on from it. You lost. I think didn't they lose like the original one or something like that? They had to settle.
It's
or
a
whatever.
continuing bad look is what it is for them, and they just need to find a
move
way to
on.
take care of the issue. Fix the issue though. I mean, you need to fix the problem here. I mean, it shouldn't be like, oh, pay him off. Now let's continue to sexually harass. Like, that sounds like a good idea.
Course.
You know, like fix the problem. You have other companies out there that you can follow suit. Look at the Dallas Mavericks. They just had this last year with all this sexual harassment stuff going on. You want to talk about, like, you think riots big? Like, imagine professional, like, you know, these professional sports teams with the U.S. media. Like, it was all over the place. And what did he do? He fired the wrong people. He hired the right people, let them make good decisions.
Drafted Luka.
Drafted Luka, and here we are. Like,
Traded for
it's
Luka.
not even brought up anymore.
Let
so,
Project
again,
A be your Luka. All right?
Like, they need to hire their Luka.
Just get your Luka, which is Project A. You fire all the sexual harassers. Fire the people who colluded with lawyers, and it's GG. Everyone loves you again.
Done.
I'm a basic esports bitch, and anytime traditional sports tips their hat to esports, I'm going to mention it just because I'm still in that phase where I think it's pretty cool. And NASCAR, of course, because I'm the biggest NASCAR fan all of a sudden. Tweets about iRacing with Ashton Crowdy winning the race just the other day. I thought that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
And we've always talked about it where, like, NASCAR is going to be the I mean, we've seen it where, like, esports professionals hop in a car and do just as well.
And on top of that, like, NASCAR needs to probably find a way to attract young audiences. Like, that's not, you see baseball having those same types of struggles, right? And, like,
yeah,
for NASCAR, this is, like, the easiest way because these games are, like, simple games for people to get into generally, right? Like a racing sim and working your way up that way. So,
well, and the way these sims work too, I mean, you get on, like, the augmented thing that, like, you can get where you actually feel the vibrations. In the car.
Yeah,
I mean,
you can
legit.
go. I'm just saying, like, if you just want to, like, get in and do the basic minimum, you can do that with a racing sim. You can go all the way and have, like, a reclining 3D visual thing if you want to. But that's cool that they acknowledge it, and you know, if they're working together, that's just better for both of them.
You want to read the next one?
I got it. Yeah. So our partners at Amuka, they acquire Waves E-Gaming. That is a Canadian-based esports
LAN center.
Yeah, like it's a esports like venue. Exactly, that was the word I was looking for there. And so they host a bunch of local tournaments. They're one of the larger Canadian esports facilities. So congrats to our partners over at Amuka for the new acquisition.
Logitech partners with Herman Miller, of course, is the super fancy chair company for those who don't know.
That's pretty badass. Yeah. Like, what I'm hoping for is we don't see $1,000 chairs here. Because the Herman Millers, like, as you know, the good Herman Millers, I say good, they're all good, can range between like $600 to $1,000 depending on the model that you want, and even more, obviously. So I'm curious to see what direction this goes.
I'm hoping for is we don't get Herman Miller gaming chairs. Please don't.
What do you mean?
I don't want them to design.
Don't make a gaming chair like it is now and just say Herman Miller.
Yes, a racing looking gaming chair designed by Herman Miller.
I think this is all going to be for, like, ergonomics and, like, how good it is for posture, and, like, they're going to do it right. But I do think this is going to be, like,
if you ever watch the stream on Twitch, because we stream every episode, look at how much I fidget around in my chair. Like, right now,
I'm sitting with my knee up right now. Like, I'm just trying to find ways to be comfortable.
They're not comfortable.
They're terrible chairs.
I'm going to come out and say it. Gaming chairs, we got suckered in because they were 50% off at DreamHack. They're not comfortable. They're really not. Unless you want to sponsor the show, then I think you're the most comfortable chair out there.
Great. I love them. Like, absolutely love it. What is this? We Maxonomic. Yeah.
Maxonomic. I love it. I love it.
I do. This one is really good, but most of them suck.
Yeah. This particular one I bought is a really good model. But it is also very, uncomfortable.
I'm pretty excited to see what they come out with. I do think it'll be like an ergonomic, like, functional chair for everyday use. And so just curious to see what the pricing is.
Another death in the gaming world as creator of the Konami code, Kazuhisa Hashimoto. I think I got that one right. Passes away at the age of 79. The dude created the most famous code. You've seen it in games. I mean, it's the same code that you see in multiple games, but like Contra, things like that, known as the Konami code. So stay hard, Mr. Hashimoto, on that one. We always like to give a tip of the hat for people who, in the industry of gaming. And
Vendetta,
Dignitas,
longtime CS:GO caster and analyst. He's worked with ESL for a couple of years now. You've seen him on the desk a lot. He is joining the Dignitas team out there in the old NIP lineup. He'll be a CS:GO analyst for him. So a cool move. I mean, we saw Yanko kind of do this. Yanko obviously moving into a coaching role. Now we see Vendetta going into an analyst role. We saw Fiflaren go into a coaching role. So, look, these guys are knowledgeable on the game. It is surprising that he's getting an opportunity to help a team out. No, he knows the game really well. So congrats to him. Hopefully that whole venture goes well. And I know we're excited to see Dignitas, like the revival. Like, what do we have here? So waiting for that first matchup to come.
And I think that just about does it for E-News, which also means that does it for episode 216 of The Center Ring, a.k.a. TCR, a.k.a. your favorite esports podcast. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter if you're not, at The Center Ring. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back Sunday night for Monday's show. So if you're not already, follow on Twitch. We are also on Juked. It's not working right now, but we're on it. You can see our profile, but we just got to get the kinks worked out there so the stream also shows up. But we'll have that settled for Sunday's show for sure. Going to talk some Katowice. That will be done and wrapped up. Let's see. You don't have CDL this week, so no CDL. And to be honest, I don't even know about the Overwatch League schedules because so many weekends have been canceled and moved around, and who knows. But we will definitely talk about the latest esports drama and news. I can guarantee that. So again, follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring. Thank you so much for listening. For Nuge, I'm Tim. We'll see ya. Perfect.
Beautiful.
All right. Ginger, if you're still in the chat, thanks for sticking around, my man.
Always appreciate it, my dude.
I'm going to end the stream just so I can edit this, get some food, get some bed. But we'll talk to everyone in the chat later.
God bless.